Well, it's happened, guys. Israel has sold their birthright for a bowl of soup. And I suppose it had to happen in order for everything to take place, right? This had to be part of the deal. They had to sell out their birthright and basically give up the land that God told them not to divide. Today, Prime Minister Lapid, who is currently in power there in Israel, has declared that the two-state solution is the thing to do. Hey, Christy, good to see you. And they've made the declaration, so I'm going to play it for you here. You may have already heard it, but just want to have it on record here so you guys can hear this for yourself. Him saying that the two-state solution is the way to move forward. Hey, D23, good to see you. So check this out.
Those who've been taking metformin for over 60 days, I want you to...
Hold on a second, having some audio issues. One sec. Let me just get this to stop. Okay. Something's invading my space. No, I don't want this. I don't want that. Okay. They don't want me to share this with you, I guess. That's what it is. Okay, let me see. Is it working now? All right, I think it might be working now. All right, let's try that again. Here we go.
Israel's economic and military strength allows us to protect ourselves, but it also allows us something else. To strive for peace with the entire Arab world and with our closest neighbors, the Palestinians. An agreement with the Palestinians based on the two states for two people is the right thing for Israel's security, for Israel's economy, and for the future of our children. Peace is not a compromise. It is the most courageous decision we can make. Peace is not weakness. It embodies within it the entire might of human spirit. War is a surrender to all that is bad within us. Peace is the victory of all that is good. Despite all the obstacles, still today, a large majority of Israelis support the vision of the two-state solution. I am one of them. We have only one condition: that the future Palestinian state will be a peaceful one. That it will not become another terror base from which to threaten the well-being and the very existence of Israel. That we will have the ability to protect the security of all the citizens of Israel at all times. If someone believes that demand is too much, then look at the neighborhood in which we live. Look at Lebanon, a collapsing state controlled by Hezbollah. At Syria, where a murderous regime massacred 500,000 of its own people. Look at Afghanistan, at Libya, at Iran. You can ask us to live according to the values in the UN Charter, but you cannot ask us to die for them. My father was a child in the ghetto. My grandfather was murdered in a concentration camp. We want to live in peace, but only if it gives us security, not if it threatens us even more. Look at Gaza. Israel did everything the world asked of us, including from this very stage. We left 17 years ago. We dismantled the settlements, took apart our military bases. There is not a single Israeli soldier in Gaza. We even left them 3,000 greenhouses so they could start to build an economy for themselves. What did they do in response? In In less than a year, Hamas, a murderous terror organization, came to power. They destroyed the greenhouses and replaced them with terrorist training camps and rocket launch sites. Since we left Gaza, over 20,000...
Okay, so, and he goes on from there, but I just wanted to play the actual news for you of him saying that he agrees with the two-state solution, that he supports the two-state solution. If you guys can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me okay here. But, yeah, so that's pretty huge for the leader of Israel to support dividing up Israel. It's very prophetic. It's very biblical. Thanks, Christy. Appreciate that. And so if you want to hear the rest of that, you can listen to it online. But I wanted you to at least hear it from his mouth that he supports the two-state solution. He supports dividing up Israel, giving the West Bank to the Palestinians. Thank you, servant. Appreciate that. And so this is huge, guys. This is historical. This is biblical, and not in a good way. This is bad biblical. This is biblical. Like I said, I've said it before. When this guy, from the first time I saw this guy, I just had a bad feeling about him. I'm like, I don't trust this guy. Something's not right with this dude, and he's proven it today. He's obviously on the side of the New World regime, and is giving in to them and giving into their desires. Now, a reminder: the two-state solution that they're proposing includes giving up Jerusalem, i.e., the old city, East Jerusalem, which includes the old city, includes the Temple Mount, where the temple belongs, and that the Muslims have taken. It also includes giving up the Golan Heights that has the oil in it. But the most important thing is it's giving up the land that God gave to the Israelites. And we see that here in Joel 3. He says, in those days at that time when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem, which is this time, these are the days of that time, guys, where God has restored the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem. They're more prosperous now, arguably maybe than they've ever been in history as a nation, more successful than they've ever been in a nation. And they're finding all these gold and silver, so to speak, with the oil and gas deposits that is getting the Prince of Rosh and others excited. I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley of judgment. There I will put them on trial for what they did to my inheritance, my people Israel, because they scattered my people among the nations and divided up my land. God does not like it when you divide up his land. He said he was going to put his name there forever, and that's what he's going to do. So you start dividing up his land, it's kind of perfect timing. I mean, honestly, guys, I don't think there's ever been a time in history that you could say has more things pointing to the end of the world than right now, and more things pointing to biblical prophecy being fulfilled than right now. I mean, I guess that's sort of an obvious. As time goes by, it's going to get more and more that way. But I mean, so many things are coming together all at the same time. I mean, is this the covenant that the Antichrist confirms here this week with the UN as we end this 483rd year after rebuilding the wall, prophecy of Daniel 9, and as we end this Shemitah cycle and start this final Shemitah cycle of the 490 years, is this the Antichrist covenant that gets confirmed of this two-state solution? Is that really what it is? It sounds like it's going to be. Sounds like that's what it's going to be. I mean, it might include with that the one world religion and everything else, but it seems like this two-state solution is probably what it's going to come down to. And my guess is the way they're going to get Israel to go along with it as a whole. Now, obviously, he said that as the prime minister, but they still have to vote and all the other kinds of things as a nation. But I think probably what will put it over the edge is they're going to allow Israel to rebuild the temple. Either that or the two witnesses are going to step in and they're going to basically allow Israel to rebuild the temple, whether they like it or not. Which, again, they want to kill these two witnesses. They're not happy with them. By the time they're done, they're celebrating when they get killed at the end. So it's not a good thing for the world, guys. This is not a good thing. Now, you look at the history of these guys, who is this guy? Like, as I said, this guy is he's a Palestinian, really. Yes, he has someone who died in a concentration camp, as he likes to brag about, making you think, oh, well, then he's sympathetic to the Jewish case. Don't think again. Think again. This guy, lots of Jews sold out their own people back during World War II. Okay, so just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you're for the Jewish people. And this guy is from Palestine. If you look at his history, and I've done this in other videos, so I won't do it now, but he is not a pure-blood Israelite. As you notice, he's not wearing a yarmulke on his head here like Naftali Bennett, for example. Not to say that necessarily means you're true to the faith, but this guy is bad news, okay? This guy's bad news. And not somebody that you want in charge of Israel, of all places. I could just tell. Man, like, this guy is not, even before he ever got in power, just when I saw him with all the speeches and stuff, I'm like, this guy, something's off about this guy. And we're seeing it now. Now, what's interesting is, there's been a rivalry ever since the time of Jacob and Esau and Isaac and Ishmael, okay? What we have now, guys, is we have the descendants, we have Israel, and then the modern Palestinians are descendants of Esau and descendants of Ishmael. That's what we're dealing with right now. This is old family rivalry that's been going on since the time of Jacob and the time of Isaac. And if you look at the history, I won't get too deep into that side of it. I just want to share a little scripture with you about it. But, that's who you trace. The Edomites are from the line of Esau, and the Edomites are the Palestinian people of today, as it says right here. They are from the line of Esau, okay? The Ishmaelites as well are the Arabs, right? The wild donkey people. That's the way the Bible describes them. And it's a pretty good description as you see the behavior that takes place with all the madness of places like Iran and so forth, who just dream of nothing but annihilating Israel. I mean, what kind of population does that to their own kids? Well, they do it. So check this out. And you can do a whole study on this of the Edomites and Edom in the Bible, and you'll learn a whole lot just doing that. But for time's sake, I won't dive into that right now. I just want to share this story of Jacob and Esau, because that's exactly what Lapid did today. He, as an Edomite, and I really believe he's more of Edomite than he is of Jacobite, he sold out the birthright of Israel today. That's what he did. Representing Israel, he sold out their birthright. And God, I can guarantee, is not happy about that, as it says in Joel. And it's perfect timing for God to bring his judgment. That's sort of the straw breaking the camel's back there if you're going to start dividing up Israel that God brought together. What God brought together, let no man separate, right? We know that from marriage, right? And boy, oh boy, God brought them back in 1948, and now you're going to just, with the wave of a hand, divide it up into two states? I don't think so. So Genesis 25 says, this is the account of the family line of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old. He married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Paddan Aram, and the sister of Laban, the Aramean. So again, Isaac and Ishmael, they separated, right? The Ishmaelites became the wild donkey people, as the Bible describes, and then you had, Isaac had Jacob. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled to each other within her and she said, why is this happening to me? So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. Wow. It even says it right there, will be separated. The 2-state solution. They're separating right there. Right there, God's giving. See, God always reveals these things. I just planned to share the story with you. I didn't even realize that was actually in there. So that is pretty awesome right there. 2 nations are in your womb, Jacob and Esau, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. 1 people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. Now, we know the older is Esau, the Edomite, because he technically came out first from the womb, but Jacob was grabbing onto his heel on the way out. So Jacob wasn't going down without a fight. He's called the grabber for a reason. And 1 people will be stronger than the other. Well, that's an interesting thing to say too. Which people is which? When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. Now we talked about this in relation to the Brightons, the Britannians, those from England. Their connection with Esau and the Edomites as well. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob, which means to grasp the heel, or he deceives is another way Jacob is used. Isaac was 60 years old. They named him Esau because Esau means hairy, but you also associate it with him being red. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. And Paul was later a tent builder. It's kind of an interesting connection. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Okay, so some favoritism here. Isaac's favoring Esau because he brought him some tasty food from the wild, and Rebekah loves Jacob because he probably helped her out a lot at home. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom. Edom means red. So see, he's both Esau, which means hairy, and Edom, which means red. Okay, that's the two names there. So the Edomites are Esau. They're from the time of from the line of Esau. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." See, Jacob's got his eyes on the prize, man. This guy is not messing around. This guy's just thinking about his stomach. His God is his stomach, as Jesus talked about, right? It goes back to Esau, whose God was his stomach. So he sells out his birthright. "Look, I'm about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath, selling his birthright to Jacob. Not a good thing. Not a good thing to do, man. As a firstborn son, you have a lot of rights. And you get the larger inheritance. You usually get half of the inheritance, while the rest have to divide up the other half. And you get the rights as the firstborn son. You kind of take over the family business and take over, you have the leadership role. I mean, you don't want to sell your birthright, okay? But that's symbolic, obviously, of what Israel's doing now. They're selling out their birthright back to Edom. See, Jacob bought their birthright from Esau, and now Esau is selling it. Now Jacob is selling it back to Esau and dividing up the land, and that's not making God happy. God does not want that. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. And we know that in the next chapter, I won't read you the whole story, but basically Jacob goes in and pretends to be Esau, again, the deceiver, goes in and he takes Esau's blessing. Basically, he goes in and puts some hair on his arms, and pretends, his father's kind of blind at that point, so he can't really tell if it's him. He says, "Well, you sound like Jacob, but you feel like Esau, so okay, I'll give you the blessing." And he ends up giving Jacob the firstborn son blessing that technically Esau had sold to Jacob. They didn't tell the dad about that, but he had sold it to them. And Jacob's like, "Oh, I'm Esau, your firstborn." So he lies to him. There's no getting around that. He lied. He deceived him. But at the same time, you could argue, well, he did buy the birthright. So in a sense, he's entitled to the firstborn son's blessing. Of course, they didn't talk to dad about that, though. So that's kind of another story. But in any case, he gets the blessing. And then Esau finds out and says, "No, give me the blessing too." He's like, "Sorry, I already gave it to Jacob. I can't give it to you too. So I have to give you another blessing." And basically, what he says... let me just share you the blessing with you real quick. He says, Jacob brings him the food, to make him think that he's Esau, like Esau would normally bring him. So this is what he says. "The smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew." Okay, this is what he says to Jacob, who he thinks is Esau at the time. "May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness and abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." Ooh, that sounds very much, you hear that throughout the Bible, right? Jesus says, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, whatever you loose on earth will be loose in heaven. There's a lot of parallels, that chiasmus kind of thing there. After Isaac finished blessing him and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. And then he too prepared some tasty food. Says, "My father, please sit up and eat some game so that you may give me your blessing." His father Isaac said, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm your son, your firstborn Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." So once you give the blessing, you can't retract it. It's already given to Jacob. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Oh, Jacob the deceiver. Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? which means to grasp the heel, or he takes advantage, or he deceives. This is the second time he's taken advantage of me. He took my birthright. Well, actually, you sold it to him, to be in all fairness. And now he's taking my blessing. Now that you could argue. Then he asked, haven't you reserved any blessing for me? Isaac answered Esau, I've made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and I've sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father. Then Esau wept aloud. Oh, wow. That's intense. He's now realizing what he sold when he sold that birthright. His father Isaac answered him, your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke off your neck. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of his blessing his father had given him. I could see that. He said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Now that's quite a grudge. When Rebekah was told about what her older son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, your brother Esau is planning to avenge himself by killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. And Laban, as you know, that's where he ends up getting a wife. Well, that's where Rebekah came from. That's where the wife for Isaac came from. But Jacob ends up going and working for Laban. That's where he ends up marrying Rachel and Leah, right? Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. So that's her brother Laban. So technically, right, it would sound like that Jacob married his cousins. Is that right? Jacob, Rachel, and Leah? That's what I'm getting from that. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I will send word for you to come back from here. Why should I lose both of you in one day? Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from the women of this land, from Hittite women like these, my life will be worth living. And then it goes on to the story of Jacob and Rachel and Leah and all that. But this is what's going on, guys. It's been going on since the time of Isaac and Ishmael, when Ishmael was pushed away, and now the son of Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. So that discord has been going on for many, many years between these two. And the Palestinians today are the descendants of Esau and the descendants of Ishmael. So they have this rivalry, like the Jeds and the Clampetts. It's a family rivalry that goes way, way back, all the way back. But guys, we know it has to be something that's going to put it over the edge to fulfill this time. And if we're looking at this 490 years, every 490 years was something very significant. This is the 7th of the 70 times 7. We know that we're not going to be waiting another 490 years, I don't think, for Jesus to come back, based on everything being in place now for Mark of the Beast and for the one world government, the one world religion. It's all here ready to roll out. We're due for Messiah the Prince to show up at the end of the 69 weeks, 483 years. And now Israel has just sold their birthright. The leader, at least, has proclaimed that they're selling their birthright. There may be a civil war in Israel now because of this. Who knows what's going to come of this, or if they actually go along with this plan. But boy, it sounds very much like something out of the time of Jeremiah, and warning them, whether they should give into Nebuchadnezzar, or all the times throughout history where they tried to bend to the other worlds around them, to bend to the other peoples around them, instead of standing strong with God's plan for their lives. And then God ends up selling them into captivity and giving them away as punishment because they give in to the nations around them instead of standing firm on the Lord. And so once again here now, they're selling their birthright. God gave them the birthright back in 1948. They've lasted 70 years. As Naftali Bennett said, oh, we're going to make it. Come on. But you could kind of tell he was nervous that they weren't going to make it. Either that or he's part of it too, which could be. I mean, nowadays, most of the leaders are involved in this one world takeover. So, oh man, it's pretty frightening to think about. And then you've got Mr. Prince of Rosh ready to move in to steal the plunder. This is it, guys. I mean, this is going to put it over the edge. I mean, this is definitely a straw to break the camel's back, so to speak, of God to bring his wrath and judgment if they're going to actually divide up. What God has brought together, let man not separate. He's going to bring them all back from the nations and places where he banished them and blessed them, and then they're going to make the decision to give away that inheritance back to Esau or back to Ishmael. I don't think so. I don't think God's going to let that happen. So I think we're basically, they're pushing God's button, so to speak. They're pushing themselves into the time of Jacob's trouble, into the Great Tribulation. And that's what we're about to go into now, guys. It's all set. The stage is set. Now it's just up for destiny to take hold. So just a quick update there, guys. Wanted to give you the news. It is the end. It's the end. And so it all fits. And now we're just waiting for Jesus to come and fulfill Daniel 9, 69 weeks till Messiah the Prince. We're looking for Messiah the Prince to come and snatch us away before this 70th week of Daniel begins. Amen, guys. I'll probably be back with more, but just want to give you that quick update. Thanks so much for tuning in. Quick shout-outs here to Blessed All, Katie, and Christy, and Thankful Gamer. All right, thanks so much for modifying for us here, being the moderators. And thank you so much to our members, David, Laura, Leslie, and also 777, Amy, D23, Debbie, Freya, Jeremy, Michael, Nomi, Ronnie, and Silhouette. It's great to have you guys. Please do like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get more of these notifications. If you're not getting them, this platform, unfortunately, is not very good at delivering them, but you can always become a member, and I'll let you know in the Members Lounge about that by clicking the join button right there on the video that you see. Thanks so much, guys. Love you, and I'll talk to you soon. All the best, all the blessed, and Maranatha.